justice that we are seeing. And as Abrar has demonstrated to us, nobody, no civilians, the elderly and young mothers and children are not safe from this reach of state-sanctioned violence and this reach of fascism. And anyone who is not even an ethnic Tigrayan but dares to stand up against these forms of violence is also being targeted. So this is the broader context of what we are talking about, and I think it's really important to contextualize these things when we're having this conversation. So I believe now we will open up the stage to people who want to come up and want to ask questions. They can address Abrar or anybody here on stage. We would like to remind everybody, however, that this is a very sensitive conversation, so please be mindful and respectful of your tone and how you ask these questions. If you are here not to have a productive conversation but are interested in having an unproductive shouting match, we will politely remove you from stage, so just keep that in mind. But anybody who wants to ask questions, who wants more insight on anything that has been raised, please do feel free to raise your hand or to request the mic and we will bring you up. Thank you.
Thanks, Fifi. Thank you for that recap. I guess before we give chance for questions, maybe Abrar, we can give him one last chance to maybe provide a little bit detailed into the massacre. Like, who were the people that were massacred? What kind of crimes are being committed? Maybe if you can give us a very precise and short, detailed description of the massacre that just took place in Abala. And after that, we will proceed to folks with questions. But in the meantime, everyone feel free to DM your questions. If you're not comfortable speaking them out loud, you can send us your questions to Fifi, myself, and Eden, and then we'll be more than happy to pass them over to Abrar. Thank you. Abrar, please go ahead.
Thank you, Maza, for your question. Just before I elaborate on Abala, I have to give the context of how the Abala massacre came about. It was in the process. It was in the process for quite some time now, because I remember few months back, especially around July, August time. What they did was, I was in a hotel in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., and I was in sleep, and this security guys, who were a mix of Afar militias and government forces, so likely federal intelligence service agents, and they knocked on my door like 50 times or whatever. It was really loud, and I was so annoyed, and I was, shocked what's happening. Is there a conflict going on or anything? And this is in Samara, by the way. And then when I opened the door, I've noticed that these Afar guys and these intelligent agents of Ethiopians, and I spoke to them in the Afar language and what's going on, Mahafadan. And the moment I said this, the guy responded in Afar saying, "Sorry for bothering you. We're not actually looking for you, but we're looking for the juntas." And then I was confused when he said this, but what they were actually looking for was any Tigrayan or anyone who speaks Tigrinya in that hotel. And then when I looked at the window, just on the side of the curtain, I saw the hotel staff. Literally, these are poor individuals who live on minimum wage, being taken to wherever locations they were being taken. And I've never seen these guys since then. And they've taken them from the hotel where they work as bar assistants and other stuff. And they've actually taken the people, and then they've taken the hotel manager and so on. God knows where they've taken them. And then the next day, there was, like I said earlier, there was a protest saying that any person who speaks Tigrinya should be driven out of their homes in the Afar region, and should be either, there was some messages saying they should either be killed or be sent to Tigray. Now this was the way how I think the Abala massacre came about. And just few days ago, just few days ago, what happened was exactly the result of such hatred, such propaganda-filled propaganda-filled messages. And in Abala, it is very important to discuss this. Really, I'm really sorry to talk about this violence, but they went to every house in Abala, and they've shot so many people. I don't know what the number would be, because they weren't really they didn't really allow the people to verify the numbers. But my opinion is actually they've killed hundreds in their homes, and any person that remained of Tigray in Abala, they've actually driven them out of Abala, and a lot of Tigrayans that have been resident in Abala, unfortunately, they had to take be forced from their homes and go all the way to Tigray on foot through the mountains. Probably there was a lot of challenges that faced to those who even managed to get to Tigray. I don't know if they got it there, but all I know is that for sure there is not a single Tigrayan who have been allowed to stay in Abala. Just to clarify, these Tigrayans and these Tigrayans who were killed in Abala and who've been driven out of their homes in Abala, they didn't come to Abala at the beginning of the conflict or recently. These people are indigenous to Abala. They've been here for so long. It is very difficult to say Abala is not their home, but they've been driven out of Abala forcefully by the Afar regional government forces, the special forces and the militias and the agents, some of which obviously there are Eritrean agents now in Afar region working with the government of Afar to drive out. And it is also important to point out, not only Tigrayans were killed there as well, they've also killed the Afar people that used to reside in Abala, who disagreed with the way they were handling the situation, the way they were killing the people, the way they were raping the women. And these people have been killed. There were Afar people who've been killed there. I have talked to family members of the victims of the Abala massacre, the Afar people. And it is very, very important to point that out, because the Afar people are as much as a victim as the Tigrayan brothers and sisters are. It's been really difficult week or so in Abala, but this is exactly happening, and it needs to be, the world needs to know about this. The world needs to know what's going on in the Afar region. Thank you.
Thank you, Abrar. So, contrary to what the Ethiopian government would have the world believe, Tigrayan residents of the Afar region, particularly Abala part, and as well as Afari people who do not necessarily agree with the Ethiopian government's rhetoric, are facing a state-sponsored violence. They're being massacred, as you heard it from Abrar himself. They're being massacred, killed, arrested, and also internally displaced. And this is happening in the wake of the Tigrayan government's decision to withdraw from Afar as well as Amhara in order to give peace a chance. So it's very important that we actually understand the full context of this, as from the international community for negotiation. The Ethiopian government, alongside its allies, seems to have launched yet another massacre across the Afar region. And unfortunately, there are attempts by the Ethiopian government as well as its activists to paint a whole completely different image of what's happening on the ground. So the main reason why we wanted to provide this platform to our brother Abrar is the people of Afar need their voices to be heard more about what's happening in Abala. Abrar will be more than happy to talk to you all. You can either share your questions here, or you can connect directly with him via DM. Thank you so much. So, Fifi, if you can take over with questions, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, I think Fifi might be doing something. No, I know you've received a DM regarding a question. If you can hear me, you can go ahead and read out that question so Abrar can answer it. And then I have Duke on the stage, so you can go ahead and ask the question. Then Abrar can answer both those questions for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Eden, and thank you, ladies, for hosting this platform. And really appreciate you all. And Abrar, thank you for being the voice, for our family members in Afar region and all that. And I just received a message from one of our brother from the Middle East journalist Jay. He's down there on the audience, and his question was in regards to what the FDRE or the government communications on Twitter about quote the decision to temporarily halt funds to the Ethiopian Defense Force to Tigray comes also at a time where, as always, quote unquote, Tplf is busy writing a fiction on Tigray massacre by collecting bodies of thousands of Tplf forces who lost their lives in Afar region and Amhara force. End of quote. And the question is, so Abrar, how would you say, with knowing it is a propaganda from the EPRDF or Prosperity Party, the Prosperity Party. However, how do you see, as an Afar resident, all these propaganda that are coming from the Ethiopian government? Thank you, Abrar.
Thank you for the question. The way I see it, first of all, it is very important to understand that what's been happening in Tigray for a year or so. There is no denial. There has been countless massacres, and there is countless evidence. Everyone knows. Every Ethiopian, whether they agree with the government or not, the public, they know very well massacre has been happening, and rape and other crimes have been committed in Tigray. I'm talking from the perspective of the Afar region, where massacres currently is taking place in Abhala, and the crimes against Tigrayans are happening in the Afar region, which I do not only have testimonial evidence for, but I have personally observed the situation myself, and this is across Samara and other areas where I pretended like I was just.
They just kicked me out.
Well, everybody, please do us a favor and to share this space with your followers so that more people could come and listen to the personal testimony of our brother from Afar. Today marks 418 days of ongoing Tigray genocide, but there are people who are being forced to fight in this genocide against their will, and one of that community are the people in Afar. A lot of massacres have been taking place all across Tigray and in neighboring states. Massacres that target Tigrayans, and one of those massacres is the Abala massacre. It's a massacre that took place in Afar after the Tigrayan forces withdrew from Afar and in order to keep peace. So we have here our from the Afar region, sharing his personal insight into the ongoing conflicts, as well as how the Afar people view what's happening against the people of Tigray. So we have been asking questions, and he has been very kind with time. And he has been sharing his reflections with us. I think we were about to receive questions from the audience, but before please everyone help us to make more audience so that more people hear what our brother has to say. Thank you.
Okay. Maza, I'm going to ask you to stay near to your Wi-Fi and also have your phone plugged in. I think you're still having a little bit of connection issue. It's just coming in and out, but it's okay. Let's go ahead and share the space, everyone. Let's go back to where we were. We'll start again. Noah will read the question that he received from the journalist, and also Duke will have a chance to answer, and Abrar will continue. We will choose at least two people at a time, so then there aren't that many distractions, but also let's be direct and clear and what we're asking to the point, so then this doesn't take a long time as well. Thank you. Abrar, I'm sorry I stopped you earlier, but you can go ahead and continue. I'm sure people will be joining us soon as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Eden. I would like to point out here the Afar people and the Tigray, the actions of the Afar regional government, as bad as it gets, does not represent the Afar people in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. And our Tigray brothers and sisters, and anyone that is against the injustice that's happening in Tigray should understand that point, that the Afar people have no interest whatsoever to be complicit in the crimes of the puppet leaders within the Afar region. And just to point out, in terms of political history and the interest of the Afar people, we are very, very passionate about federalism. We are very passionate about having autonomy, having that self-determination to be respected as a group of people with a certain identity, culture, and values. And the fact that Abiy and those people he's associated with are trying to rob us of that autonomy and that value puts us exactly in the same front of facing injustice alongside our Tigray brothers and sisters. And this needs to be clearly heard, and that's precisely why today the Afars have chose to stand up and form an alliance with the Tigray Defense Forces to fight back that injustice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abrar, for that response. And thank you so much, everybody who joined us in this space. Again, to briefly recap, we're talking about the genocidal war that has been waged on Tigray for over 400 days now. And particularly the focus of this discussion is about the massacres of Tigrayan civilians that have been occurring all across Ethiopia, but specifically in Afar, and the Abala massacre as well, that our speaker, Abrar, who is from Afar, has been giving us great insight on. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in this space. So now I have one audience question that has been direct message to me, so I'll read that out loud, and after that we'll start inviting folks on stage who can ask their questions. If anybody here on stage, or if Abrar specifically, if there's anything you'd like more elaboration on, again, we want to remind you to sort of be direct and quick with these questions so that everybody can get a chance to get more insight. The question that I have, Abrar, is about the detention centers that we're hearing reports about in Afar. We're hearing reports that Tigrayans that have been detained either in Afar or in other parts of the country have been moved, transported to detention centers that are located in Afar. And we are hearing reports that they are undergoing really atrocious treatment within these centers, or within these camps, rather. And an audience member wants to know if you have any information on this, or if you have any insight that you can share with us. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Most of the detention centers are located in the major cities, which obviously include Abala, Samara, Dubti, and Aisaita. But most of the Tigrayan speakers are being held in Samara, and sometimes they've been taken to Eldar, which is in the north of Afar region, close to Eritrea. Now, there are some people, like I said, there are certain individuals within the victims of this drama who are being taken to certain places, and I've seen a lot of them actually being taken off these centers to unknown places, and I remember one of my friends who was in Jafra last time. He was telling me he was following the situation closely, and he was saying he didn't know where they were bringing Tigrayan alleged prisoners, but they were taking them to the front lines and shooting them directly. This is one of my friends who told me this, that they were shooting Tigrayans at the point of gun, just on the front lines. Few months back in Jafra Warada, and this was happening to a lot of prisoners who have been taken out of detention centers and taken there to lose their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Duke, please go ahead.
Sure. Hi. I want to say thank you for everybody for putting this event on, and thank you, Abrar, for talking about all of this. My question is, in the region of Afar, I was wondering if there was. You spoke about some of the people who were against some of these things that were happening. I was wondering if there was any sort of religious narratives around peace, or around tolerance, or around how this war and the ethnically targeted violence was sort of against the prevailing religions. I believe from my research before that Afar is predominantly Muslim, and this is the way this war is being waged is certainly outside of the what would be in the Quran about how war could be waged. I was wondering if you would maybe elaborate a little bit on anything you might know about the religious resistance, if there is any, to some of the things that are happening. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this question, Duke. It is very important to actually, talk about this specific aspect. The people who were against the war and the forcing of Afar people to join the war, they are native Afars. They are as much as Afar as the president of the Afar region, Awal Arba, is. In fact, one of those people was the former president of the Afar region, who opposed the war explicitly, and obviously he was. There was a lot of attempts to assassinate him, but he managed to escape the region. Now, the Afar regional government, which is the so-called religious elders, have attempted to make this war look like a religious war. They've actually done everything they can to make it as if this is a religious war. This is not a religious war. every Afar, in fact, this is where the Afar regional government have lost the plot by trying to pretend this is a religious war, when the Afars who opposed the war were as much passionate about, peace compared to the regional government. They are, every Afar there is Muslim, and as you probably know, there has been bombings across the Afar region, which I haven't talked about yet, but which demolished mosques across the Afar region, especially in Chifra, in Kasagita, in Adar, and in the Hariras or Zone 5 of the Afar region. A lot of the destruction against the mosques and the religious places and the properties of the pastoralist Afars, which ironically the regional government doesn't talk about because it is not in their interest, has been committed by the government of Ethiopia, by the drones, by their jets and other means of warfare. Like I said, this war, I'm not saying those planes and those jets have bombed the mosques like deliberately or anything. I don't have any sufficient evidence to make any of those claims. What I can be certain of is this is not a religious war whatsoever. Every Afar knows that for certainty. It is not a war to bring Christianity or Islam or anything like that. This is a political war that is going on, and the fact the Afar people that left the Afar region for Tigray opposed the war is nothing to do with religion, but they left there because they had political difference. They believe that the fascist ideology is not in the self-interest of the Afar people or the Afar nation as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Could I have a quick follow-up? Is that all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I was just wondering, has there been any statements, or I believe the Majlis has